Do you feel like you've missed what may be the early stages of a new crypto bull run? A bull run is that moment where you can reap the rewards of your fruitful investments. Okay, but then the question is, how can you make sure that you have a good setup prior to the bull run and its confirmation? You need a good plan, because a good plan, after all, is what makes it all work so that we can actually see the rewards. They can actually become a reality. And that's why today I'm going to elaborate specifically on a couple of steps that I personally take that'll get me those rewards. I'm going to share them with you because, of course, before success comes a plan. And this is going to be my plan to make sure I optimize my chances of success for when we're at the peak of that bull run. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. As always, I will wish you the best of luck if you choose to invest. But my well-wishing aside, I'm not a financial or investment advisor, so just remember that this video is not official financial or investment advice. Imagine centralized exchange trading access and liquidity, but with no KYC. You can get the volume and the pricing you need without any KYC requirements using BYDFi. It's true. You can trade over 400 trading pairs in the spot market or 150 pairs in the perps market, and you can withdraw 0.5 BTC daily. Plus, fees are super low. We're talking 0.6% for futures and perp trades. Slippage is basically non-existent, and you can trade with up to 200 times leverage or set and forget with the auto invest. And again, all with no KYC. You're also going to get up to $8,698 in bonuses for trying BYDFi, along with a free month of our money-making Altcoin Buzz Alpha service just for giving BYDFi a try. You can check out this deal by clicking the link in the description of this video and the pinned comment below. Okay, the first part of my plan that we're going to talk through right now is the act of setting up a watch list. And personally, I'm not really planning on any short-term plays. I'm not really into trading or arbitrage, right? I buy projects that I've vetted, that I have a lot of confidence in, and I hodl them. And so my plan personally is for the long term. If you're a more active trader on shorter time frames, that's cool. It's just not something I'm particularly good at, to be honest, so I don't really dabble in that. I like building a solid portfolio. And my first step is therefore to orient myself. Where we are right now, I have to get a sense of where we stand and where we're going. And right now, we're still accumulating. So the current uptrend is nothing compared to a real bull run and what's going to eventually play out. This picture here by Miles Deutscher clearly explains it. And so, in essence, right now we are very much in an accumulation phase. Therefore, that being said, my first step is to set up a watch list, as I just mentioned. I look at some of the narratives out there that interest me, some of the major trends in the industry, cryptocurrency, as well as beyond. So things, for example, like maybe the Cosmos ecosystem and RWAs, real world assets. And based on that, that's where I personally begin to investigate projects that are of interest to me. We have a great article actually on altcoinbuzz.io. This is part of a 4-part series on free crypto tools that are very useful when it comes to this kind of planning and the identification of great projects based on trends and narratives. You start with a small list and you keep adding coins or projects along the way. Personally, my current list right now includes Cosmos, ticker Atom, ATOM, Akash, AKT, Injective, INJ, Kujira, Kuji, Kuji, Jackal, JKL, Goldfinch, GFI, and Centrifuge, CFG. Of course, we've done many videos on these coins together as part of lists as well as individually, so check out some of that footage and previous videos if you haven't already, but all of these are favorites. We talk about them quite a bit. And let's say, as I'm sure is the case, you have your own list of personal favorite altcoins. You're going to want to make use of and avail yourself of some of the free tools out there, such as those on CoinGecko, or maybe even just make your own Excel spreadsheet. There are plenty of options to make things like personalized portfolios, and it's not that difficult to do. A lot of the platforms that you're using on a daily basis, for example, CoinGecko, but many others as well, are going to enable these kinds of features. So you may as well do that, and you can stay on top of your favorite projects more easily that way. The second major tip that I want to convey here is that you ought to be recording your journey. So as we've been discussing, we vet we research our projects. We never jump in blindly. In fact, the research that we do and that I do is quite diligent. And I'm sure you're familiar with the abbreviation DYOR, do your own research. I do it. Everybody here at Altcoin Buzz do it. But, I have to admit it can be easy to jump blindly onto a bandwagon of a given project if it's suddenly gaining a lot of traction, a lot of popularity. Even if it seems like a sure thing, always do your own research. Now, I have a very basic and very easy to use tool when it comes to this in the form of a simple spreadsheet. So this is where I list my coins that I like, at least those that I deem worthy, or in other words, that have passed that research process. And it's nice to have a working list like this. Nothing is set in concrete. Obviously, this can change. You can add to it. You can also add things like extra information. So for example, in this case, why I like the project and what are some of the potential risks. I also like to include things like the ticker, how long I may plan to hold them, their size in terms of market cap, bonuses, advantages maybe associated with the ecosystem, or disadvantages for that matter, right? You got to weigh the pros and the cons. But really, I have two lists. One of coins that I plan to buy and one that's more of a watch list, coins with good potential. And I often upgrade or downgrade coins between the two. They do move around depending on performance, depending on press releases or developments or technical capabilities and improvements. Don't be afraid to do this. Don't be locked in one way or the other. Don't fall in love with a project to the point that you're no longer critical. And also be willing to forgive projects that you've previously been critical of. Solana comes to mind. And we have all kinds of videos when it comes to sample portfolios. You can check these out. If you haven't seen these, I will link to these videos in the description below. And depending on your style, you may also find it useful to make things like SWOT tables. The 4 letters here stand for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it kind of puts you in like a critical kind of perspective, right? You're jotting down all of the variables associated with those 4 categories, and then you kind of weigh them cumulatively at the end. You see whether or not it's worthwhile based on the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And so by using this, you get a more in-depth understanding of the project. Introducing Altcoin Buzz Alpha, where you can manage your crypto portfolio with regular updates and top insights for only $15 per month. Get hot Web3 trends, undervalued crypto gems, daily portfolio strategies, and of course, response to all your questions and queries. Check it out. Join today. Links are in the description below. The third variable that we have to consider is the size of our position or what we're willing to invest, right? And that's going to be different from person to person. Maybe I have less that I'm able to invest with. Maybe you have more. You have to make a responsible decision that ultimately is good for you. So I can't prescribe what or how much that is. It comes down to personal preference and to a certain extent, risk aversion based on what you're comfortable with. It probably comes as no surprise that I'm a big fan of gaming projects, but look, maybe you're not. Maybe you don't like them at all. But whatever the case may be, you have to start by weighing your preferences. Gaming is one sector. So for example, there's Cosmos, privacy, exchange coins, artificial intelligence, gaming. There's lots of different sectors. My list in particular looks like this. Cosmos, 40%, AI, 30%, privacy at 20%, and exchange coins at about 10%. Another option is to use weighting by market cap. So you may want to do large caps, 40%, medium caps, 30%, small caps, we're getting riskier now, 20%, and micro caps, 10%. And like I said, these numbers will change. You're going to tailor them to your preferences. But whatever you decide to do, it is a good idea to structure it and to stick to that plan. Okay, and finally, I'd like to discuss entry points because there is a simple rule in crypto, and it's not like we invented it. It's a universal investing maxim. Buy low and sell high. Now, don't mix these up either because a lot of people tend to do the opposite. They buy high and they sell low. They tell themselves they won't do it, but inevitably it happens. I would argue it happens to a majority of people actually. But don't be one of those people. Look for a price that's a good entry for you, and you may want to look for some TA advice as well, technical analysis. This allows you to see where the best entry points may be. Also, for myself, I always make sure that I follow the price development of a coin. And dollar cost averaging is something that works well for me here. When there are dips, they are the good moments to add to your bags. And buying methodically and with regular frequency at standardized intervals, it also kind of automates things, which is nice because it takes a lot of the emotion and the second guessing, honestly. It takes that variable out of the equation. It just makes things feel a lot more comfortable. What I do next is set limit orders on an exchange. For example, let's say the atom price was at $8, but I expect it, or at least hope, to drop a little more, let's say to $7.50. And so I'm hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. And I'm covered, therefore, by setting a limit order in this way. Another advantage is that you don't need to check on limit orders as much. They sit there in the background, they do their own thing. Limit orders are therefore very patient. And again, I want to reiterate the importance here of a DCA or dollar cost averaging strategy, because you can set buy orders with a specific amount and time frames and automate this as well. Every week, for instance, every month, whatever suits you, but regardless of the price. So for example, if we're talking about Atom, $100 on the 5th of every month or whenever you have disposable income. It can be more frequently, less frequently. It can be more money, less money, whatever works for you. And here's a bonus tip that is really just a best practice. Keep some stable coins as a backup. Maintain a supply of dry powder. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of not really putting all your eggs in one basket. And that's what we talk about when we discuss portfolio diversity. In many ways, it's kind of the same thing. So having at least some stable coins on hand is similar to what we were talking about earlier, right? Diversifying by weighting things differently or investing into different sectors. Having that stable coin on hand just means that in the event that you want to act, you are able to do so. And so personally, I find it very important to keep a full bag of stable coins on the side. I want to have that ready to deploy if and when I need to. We can't really predict when we're going to need to, but we want to give ourselves the option to do so and have full flexibility to do so if that need arises. And for example, some projects haven't launched yet, right? They may enter the crypto space in a few months from now, maybe not, but if they do, I want to be able to decide if that project is right for me and potentially invest. So having said that, I always try to keep an open mind so I can change positions if needed. Don't marry anything in your bag. Like I said, try to do it as unemotionally as possible. Put all the emotions aside and have a good profit-taking strategy as well. The truth is that taking profit is easier said than done. That's another best practice. We're going to set that aside and call it maybe a topic for another day. So we'll make that video additionally, but hope these tips have been helpful. If there's something else that I haven't mentioned or a suggestion that you have personally, feel free to share it in the comments below. And it does look like the next few months are going to start to get pretty interesting. So I wish you all the best of luck.